In this project we're going to replace the sky behind this landscape image. Okay, I'm just going to drag a sky in from the desktop this time, and that will be placed as a smart object above our background layer. I'm now free to reposition this sky. Okay, but because I can't see the landscape behind, I'm just going to drop the opacity down to a lower value there so I can see to position and maneuver this. I really don't want to put the sky higher than that horizon line, so I'm going to keep it reasonably low there. Okay, now because of the bounding box has gone outside of the preview window there, I'm just going to use a keyboard shortcut on a Mac. That's Command 0, Control 0 on a PC, which allows me to see the bounding box handles. I'm just going to resize that a little bit taller so we get the nice position of the sky against the new background here. And I'm going to commit that transform and put the opacity back up to 100%. Now typically what we might choose to do is put a mask on this layer, but it's actually best to put the mask on the layer with the greatest fine detail, and this is on the tree layer here. Okay, at the moment the layer is locked, so we just need to drag that lock to the mini trash can at the base of the layers panel and then push that layer up to the top of the layers stack. Okay, like so. Okay, now we have both layers were switched on and the tree on the top layer. We're going to put the layer mask on this layer to hide the old sky and reveal the new sky on the layer below. And again, the reason for this layer order is because we're going to be using the refine edge technique with the decontaminate feature, and that decontaminate feature really works best on the layer with the fine detail. Okay, so let's proceed. We're going to come over to the channels panel and we're going to attempt to make an alpha channel mask. I'll just zoom back in, Command 0, Control 0 to fit on screen, and then I'm just going to cycle between the red channel and the green channel and the blue channel, looking for the channel with the greatest contrast, and it's here in the blue channel. So I'm just going to click and drag that to the new channel icon at the base of the channels panel. Okay, now we're going to set increase the contrast of this channel in order to create the basis of our layer mask. Okay, I'm going to come in with a levels adjustment. That's Command L on a Mac or Control L on a PC. And pretty much because what you were looking at here, this in the levels dialog, is the darker information, and this will be the sky and lighter information, including the mist here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that black input slider to a value of around about 100, and this will clip all of the darker shadow values to black. Okay, like so. The sky is going dark grey now, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag the white input slider and try and clip that to white. Now it's best if we don't get too aggressive with these adjustments because there will be some fine highlights up here in the tree that we don't want to clip to white. I'm just zooming in so you can see these. I don't want to push this white input slider so far that these become white. I want to actually leave a small amount of grey in these areas. Okay, I'll just Command 0, Control 0 to fit on screen again. Okay, so I'll select OK. We'll complete the layer mask using the brush tool. I'll select B on the keyboard to select the brush, and we're going to set the mode to overlay mode, and we're working with 100% opacity. And if I just right click, you can see I'm working with a soft edge brush. We could actually increase the hardness of that a little bit. I'll just put it up to 50%. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I've got the default colors here, which is working with white and black. Now I'm going to start with the white, and I'm going to increase the size of the brush using the close square bracket key next to the letter P on the keyboard. There's a small amount of grey in this sky, and so I'm just going to clean that up. As you can see there, this is becoming nice and bright. Now the beauty of working with the overlay mode is we're not actually going to darken any of those lighten any of those tree branches there. Okay, now with the sky clean, I'm going to press the X key on the keyboard, because what I want to do now is go in and get rid of some of those highlights in the tree branches. I might just zoom in, Command plus or Control plus a couple of times, and then use the space bar to move that image in the preview window. Just going to use a slightly smaller brush, so again I'm using the open square bracket key to reduce the size of the brush. And now with black, overlay mode, 100%, I'm just going to go in and make those highlights on that tree perfectly black. Okay, and just going up and making sure all of those tree branches are very dark there. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the white as a foreground color again, X, and just clean up some of that grey around these trees here. Okay, and over that tree line there. I'll just move over to this side and just clean up any of the grey areas, and even in between those branches there. And I'm going to clean up some of this morning mist here, and on that tree. Try not to go over the trees, just staying above the tree line there, just making that sure that a morning mist is nice and bright there. Again, switching X key to switch to black. I'm now going to paint over in order to make some of these trees a solid black. Now you might need to go over a couple of strokes to render these black. We've still got some greys here, so I'm going to go over a second time in order to firm those tones up into a nice solid black there. Okay, and coming along, putting some of that grass, okay, over to a black tone. There's a little bit of a hut or some sort of a structure in the background there, so I'm just clicking a couple of times to firm that up as black, and coming along, and we'll set that all to black in that foreground there. Okay, so just running my brush along several times so we've got a nice silhouette all through this image. Okay, and that's the mask complete. I'll just do Command or Control 0 to fit on screen, and we pretty much now have our alpha channel mask. We're just going to apply a small amount of Gaussian blur just to soften the edges up a little bit. This will help when we go into the refine edge later. Okay, so we're going to go to Filter, Blur, and choose Gaussian blur. And I'm selecting quite a low radius here, 0.8 pixels. Okay, this might vary depending on the resolution of the image you're working with. We're just creating a small amount of softening at the edges there, and we'll select OK. Now I'm going to hold down the Command key on a Mac or the Control key on a PC and click on that blue copy thumbnail there to load the channel as a selection. Okay, we're just going to click on the master RGB channel there and come back to the layers panel. Now I'm going to hold down the Alt key on a PC or the Option key on a Mac and click on the Add Layer Mask icon at the base of the layers panel there. Okay, now at the moment the combination or composite won't look very comfortable. We can see evidence of the old lighter sky around those tree branches, as you can see there. But we're going to refine the edge of this mask, so this is going to be a seamless composite. Okay. Before we do that, however, I just want to make the sky a little bit lighter at the horizon line. We're getting, the distant information on the horizon is fading here into the morning mist, but the sky is very saturated and very rich, and so we really need to get a better match before proceeding here. So I'm going to click on the sky layer to make this the active layer, and I'm going to come up with a curves adjustment layer. Now I'm just going to click on this little on image tool here, and then come into the image and select the yellow on the horizon line there and click and drag that a lot brighter. Now the whole sky will go brighter at this stage, but I'm just paying attention to the luminance values of that sky on the horizon line there. We could also go in and adjust the color temperature at that horizon. We could come in, say, into the blue channel and just make that a little bit cooler on the horizon line, and also come into the red channel and pull out some of that magenta down there. Okay, so that's nice and cool on that horizon line now. Okay, now we're going to click on the layer mask, okay, of this curves adjustment layer we've just added. I'm going to select the gradient tool, press the G on the keyboard to select this gradient tool, and from the gradient we're going to choose the black-white option. Now I'm working with the linear gradient, and we're working at 100%. we're going to work a fairly short gradient from just above the horizon line and click and drag down towards that horizon line. Hold down the shift key to constrain this to a perfect vertical, and there we've managed to restore the rich sky colors in the top of the image, but we have that faded luminance values towards that horizon. I can just show you the advantage of having that mask just very briefly. Just hold down the shift key and switch that visibility of the mask on and off, showing you how we've restored the full color of that layer. Okay, now it's time to go into the refine edge in order to get rid of the unsightly halos around these tree branches. So let's select the layer we're going to be working on, and I'm clicking on the layer mask to make this the active component of this layer. We're going to come into the select menu and choose refine mask. Okay, it's probably worth zooming in a couple of times just so we can see what we're working with here. Now we've got a little bit of softness in this mask already, courtesy of the Gaussian blur on the alpha channel. So the first step I'm going to take is just to move that shift edge slider, and we can move it over to the left to hide the background, the old lighter sky from around those tree branches. We've still got a little bit of evidence of that lighter pixels, but we're going to rectify that using the decontaminate feature. So we're just going to click on the decontaminate option and then raise that slider. We're going to need about a value of around about 80 for this project, and as you can see now we've got very good detail in around those skies. Okay, even down to the little bird sitting on the end of this branch here. Okay, now let's just zoom out a little way. Now we're almost done, but not quite. We're going to take a look at these trees on the horizon line. Now sometimes they can appear a little bit blocky with this technique, and so what we can do is, in order to improve the quality of these areas, is to choose the refine radius tool here, just increasing the size of the brush. You can do that up here in the options bar, or we can use the square bracket keys as we've done before. And then I'm just going to paint over the areas of transition. Anywhere where I can see sky coming through those branches there, I'm going to paint over, and this might give us a little bit of a better quality to these edges. I'm just going to run along the horizon line here now, trying to pick up maximum detail from these areas. Okay, now I'm going to scoot over to the right hand side and do a little bit of work over here on the horizon line. And just finishing up right on the right hand side, just running over that horizon line. Try not to extend too far into the solid opaque area, otherwise we're going to create some semi-transparent areas in those regions. Okay. Now you might find that once we've run the refine edge tool over there, we might find that we can get a little bit of extra detail by just playing with that shift edge slider again. Okay, I'm just going to back up slightly, and that creates a slightly better, richer detail in those tree branches. Be careful not to push the shift edge too far back to 0, otherwise again we're going to start compromising the detail around the thicker branches up here in the sky. I've got a nice balance, however. Now I've got good detail, good fine detail on the horizon line, and no evidence of the old lighter sky behind here. So I'm happy with these settings, and I'll select OK. Okay, and again we'll fit on screen. Okay, so we're pretty much there really. We can carry on playing with to create a nice balance between the host layer and the new sky. For instance, we could come in again on the sky layer, or just above this curves layer, and put in another curves adjustment layer to change the color of the sky if we need it to fit in with the foreground color. Okay, so I'll just select the another curves adjustment layer, and I'll probably go for a slightly cooler sky. A little bit of too much magenta creeping in there, so I'm just going to go to the red and pull that out, making quite a nice cooler sky there. Okay, and that completes the sky replacement exercise that we've been working on. Just remember the refine edge and the decontaminate works best if the mask is on the layer with the fine detail. It's pretty much the same technique as if we're working with extracting hair for the maximum quality. The mask will always go on the sitter with the hair rather than on a background layer.